this famous Keshav Kashmiri of great renown. So he was very famous as Nimai Pandit, great, powerful scholar, many students. He was invited to different regions to teach. But he showed this type of play of being not very appreciative of the devotees. He was in the mood of a scholar, and he even would sometimes tease them and make fun of them. And even sometimes he would enter into some type of debate with them. And because he was such a brilliant scholar, he could defeat them. And then he could also defeat himself. He was so brilliant like that, It's just a nice example. Through debate, logic, argument, you cannot ascertain what is the truth. This is something mentioned in the scriptures, in the Mahabharata. Yudhishthira Maharaj, he mentions that tarko apartishta, that argument is inconclusive. You cannot come to the truth. You cannot ascertain the truth through arguments and debate, because whoever is more skilled in argument, they will win, right? It's like these debating societies, right? It's not necessarily about who's on the side of truth. It's about who's more skilled in argument. So in that way, Mahaprabhu, he was so skilled and so brilliant. He could defeat anyone, even if they were representing the truth, And so he was, not very friendly to the devotees, and sometimes they would, even if they saw him coming, they would cross to the other side of the road. Oh, Nimai Pandit's coming. No, he's going to give us a hard time. So they would try and avoid him. And but then he went to Gaya, which is a traditional place to perform rites for one's ancestors. So when his father passed away, he went to Gaya to perform these rites. And while he was there, he met with this great Vaishnava, Ishvara Puri, and then he came under the influence of, or showed himself to come under, this is his divine play, his lila, he showed himself to come under the influence of Ishvara Puri's mood of devotion, and then he requested initiation from him, and he accepted him as his guru. And then when he came to Navadvip, he was totally transformed, completely showing himself in a completely different mood. This very great contrast from this proud scholarly attitude to this Vaishnava, lost, mad in divine love for Krishna, in this this state of madness and separation and deep love. And so then he wasn't able to continue teaching his students anymore, right? He had all of these students, and they felt very fortunate. Oh, we're studying under the great Nimai Pandit, But then when he came back, he just started to teach everything in terms of Krishna. Everything meant Krishna. You want to know what this means? It means Krishna. It means Krishna. This also means Krishna. He started to teach in this type of manner, and so his students, they became frustrated, But it mentions here, I always appreciate Param Guru Maharaj, he mentions here how Mahaprabhu felt some compassion for these students of his, because he wasn't able to continue giving them what they wanted, they wanted to know grammar, they wanted to learn Sanskrit grammar. And so he actually felt some compassion for them, that he wasn't able to give them what they wanted. How merciful is the Lord. Hello, little miss. What are you up to? What's that cheeky look on your face for? You want to be in the spotlight. No? Oh, you are. So even, he couldn't, ultimately what they're interested in is something mundane, but he felt some compassion that, oh, she's okay, no problem. He felt some compassion that he wasn't able to give them that, So it's very, very striking thing. I had one discussion on the airplane when I was coming from Rome the other day, and I was speaking, had a very interesting conversation. One lady, she's actually Indian descent, but her family have been Christian for generations. And so it was kind of interesting, right? I'm like coming from like a Western background, but I'm like steeped in this, you know, and she's coming from an Indian background, but she didn't know very much about, you know, the Vedic teachings. So you know, she was asking me some questions, and we had some discussion, and so she was asking about, you know, karma, about our stance on karma, and because her experience has been that one way that she's seen persons in India, they will use karma as an excuse to disregard people's suffering, to even condemn people for their suffering. Oh, like, this is your karma, you deserve it, you know, or like in the caste system, there's this type of prejudice. So you've been born in this very lowest caste, or you have such and such problem or deficiency. This is your karma, you know. So, you know, you must have done something really bad to deserve this. You know, it's like, I wasn't even really aware. This was kind of like an eye opener to me, you know, because you know, we're not really in that world, you know. And so she was kind of like, so what do you guys think about that? You know, like, you believe in karma? Because she saw karma, she saw the concept of karma as like a justification for people to disregard and even condemn others, the suffering of others. That was how she saw it. So she had a very bad idea about it. And I said, no, we just see karma as like something that explains why certain things take place. It is like a way of understanding, you know, the way the world works, and you know, it means it like explains nothing happens by accident in this world. That we find difficult to believe, you know, that, you know, God is just like this helpless being, and random things happen randomly to people. You know, bad things happen to good people. Like, is God like so helpless that he's just allowing all these bad things to happen to good people? Like, that doesn't make sense to me, you know. Rather, it is like, it makes perfect sense that, you know, the Lord is in control, and there is some reason why specific things are happening to specific people. That is very logical to me, you know. But then I explained to her, but, you know, we don't use that as an excuse to, like, you know, condemn people or treat people badly. Not like that, you know. Rather, we will be compassionate. That is the real nature of any normal-hearted person. You don't have to be a great saint. Anyone with a normal heart, you will feel some compassion if you see. They're not going to go and beat them on the head. You deserve this. You know, you're living in the gutter. You're starving. You did something. Oh my God, you did something so bad to deserve this. Like, this is so nasty, you know. But, you know, one will feel some compassion and some desire to help them. And I was impressed, you know, because you know, we ourselves, like, as, you know, Krishna people, or whatever you want to call it, well, there's some tendency to become kind of fanatic, you know, and to have this idea like we only do things that are 100% for Krishna, you know. So myself, when I went through my fanatic, when I was young, like a teenager, and I had like a part-time job, I used to give some donations, like to Oxfam and different charities, you know. But then in my later teens, I became kind of fanatic, you know, and my mood was like, I don't give anything to anyone except for like Krishna, you know, and like the temple, and you know, if you see some beggars, you know, you don't give them anything. And I was, when I first went to live in India, I was living with this like very like fanatic type of mentality, you know, and then my whole mentality changed because I heard Srila Gurudev. He described one godbrother of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, our Param Gurudev, grandfather Guru, who he had I had some kind of fanatic attitude, and his mood was that he didn't want to incur any karma, whether good or bad. So he would try to be as self-sufficient as possible. He didn't like to take anything from others, and he didn't like to give anything to others. And he said when he would, he would just take like the very minimum for what was needed for his maintenance, his sustenance from others. So he said sometimes he would come and visit Srila Sridhar Maharaj at our mat in Navadvip, and he would take a train. And then he'd walk from the train station. He wouldn't take a rickshaw. And he would bring his own bedroll with him. He would carry his own bedroll. So then when he reached the mat, he wouldn't have to accept any bedding from anyone, you know. And Gurudev said, and he would never give anything, even 1 paisa, 1 penny to beggars, you know, because then that would give him some good karma. And he didn't want any good karma either, because he'd have to come back to receive the results of that good karma. But he said, Gurudev said he used to tease him about that and say you know, what if you see, oh Maharaj, what if you see some boy in the street who has no arm or no leg or missing 1 eye? You will not give him 1 penny to help him, you know. And he said that Guru Maharaj, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he would give. Sometimes he would give 1 penny, 2 pennies, you know, here and there. If some beggar is before him, you know, asking for something. And also we've heard Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was out walking with some of his disciples, and there were some group of his disciples were following him, and then there was some beggar who asked for some money from some of the devotees who were grihastas. You understand grihasta by now? Grihasta is one of the orders in this varnashram. You know varnashram? Yeah. So it's one of the orders in this varnashram, and it refers to someone who is carrying out their religious practices in married life. So they have, you know, husband, wife, children, job, like that. So some of these persons who were being asked, they were grihastas, you know. In other words, they were not just simple, you know, brahmacharis with no money, but, you know, they had some means. But they were in this mood of we only give our money for Krishna, for Guru, for Prabhupada, like that. And so they didn't give anything. And Prabhupada, Saraswati Thakur, he observed this. And then he sat them down, and he explained to them that for a grihasta it was appropriate for them to give some money to help the beggars, the poor people, the starving people. And he told them, I can't remember everything that he said. It's published in 1 book. But the main point that I recall, he said, if you do not have any compassion for them, if your heart is so hard that you can't even have any compassion for them, give anything for them, then eventually, you know, your heart will become so hard that you won't even want to give anything for Krishna. You know. So it is correct. It is your duty. You will give something. So this was kind of revolutionary, you know, for my consciousness. You know that, you know, it is, you know, something. You know, it is the, you know, proper Vaishnava mood, you know, to have this magnanimity, broadness of heart, you know. There's not this, you know, righteousness or, you know, pointing the finger, but compassion. This is the Vaishnava mood. And this morning we were discussing this very extreme example of Vasudeva. Were you here in the morning? Maybe no. But we were reading in Chaitanya Charitamrita about, you remember the story of Vasudeva, Vipra? He has leprosy and he has these worms living in his body. You remember, right? And sometimes the worms are falling out of his body. He's picking them up, putting them back in. So compassionate. just inconceivable, you know. It was Jesus, right, who said, turn the other cheek. Yeah. This is like a new level of that. Oh, you're not getting the comfort of eating my flesh. Let me put you back in there. My God, you know, such a plane of consciousness exists. It's inconceivable. All right. Well, you said that you had some verses you wanted to discuss, or?
I did, but probably best to do that when I've got them in front of me.
Is it Bhagavad Gita?
There's a couple in Bhagavad Gita, and then there's a couple of others that Nyasi Maharaj emailed to me. So.
Oh, you have a list?
Yes.
I see. Okay, then maybe just bring it to class one day, one evening. The morning I really like to read Chaitanya Charitamrita. One evening. Yeah. Okay, well, maybe we'll read a few verses of Prapana Jivanamrita. So we are beginning chapter 2, Shishastra Vachanamritam. Jai Shishi Prapana Jivanamritam. Jai. Shri Guru Gaur Gandharva Govinda Gringanaisa Vande Prasada Toye Sham Sarvaramba Shubhankara. Jai Shri Gurudev. Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. So, first chapter we've just been through are Param Gurudev's, mostly his original verses. There's just like 2 citations, I think, giving some introduction, some invocation to Guru, to the Lord, to the Vaishnavas, the prayers, pranams, and then some, discussion of the theme of the work. And now we're coming to the second chapter, and you see it's significant. Param Guru Maharaj, he is starting off like giving some authenticity to this work, like showing, because the main theme of this work is Sharanagati, surrender, and showing that this is the very essence and the very foundation of our spiritual devotional practice. So here he's pointing out, like, this isn't my idea, like some, wishy-washy sentimental idea that I have, but, here's citations directly from the scripture, which are like backing this up. This is always the method, the Vaishnavas, when they're stating some principle, some truth, they are always giving some support, some citation, some reference. Like, it's not just, like, it's all feeling, how I feel today, today I'm feeling like this, and today I feel like this is true, and tomorrow maybe I'll feel like that, nowadays there's this kind of like, what do you call it? This is like a pop phenomenon, like a pop culture version of religion, like, how do you feel today? It's all about heart, where's your heart taking you? Just listen to your heart, That is beautiful, that's good, but the problem is, how can we be sure it really is our heart and not some, random thought that has just appeared in our minds, So that's why I think these things are meant to be in sync, in consonance. The feeling of the heart, the expressions of the saints, the pure hearts and souls, and the verification of scripture. These things should all be in consonance. Of the feeling of our heart, it should be confirmed by higher sources. So, feeling of the heart, there is some importance given to that, great importance given to that. But one must be sure one's heart is properly situated in a pure condition, and therefore we must go to the scripture for verification and the sadhu. So Param Guru Maharshi's, and tomorrow morning we're going to begin this Ramananda Samvad, this discussion between Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai. And you'll see this is the method all the way, up to a certain point. But Mahaprabhu starts out saying, Pada Shlok Sadir Nirnoy. State, recite a verse from the scripture which is establishing the goal of life. He doesn't say, what do you think the goal of life is? I'm really interested. What is your opinion? What do you think? No, he doesn't say that. This is what I think, and what do you think? That's not what he says. He says, can you cite a verse from the authorized scripture, which is stating what is the goal of life? So this is something very important. As in Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Dashmul, his 10 principles, like distilling the essence of Mahaprabhu's teachings. The first one there, Amnaya Prahatatvam, means that revealed knowledge descending from above establishes what is true. Revealed knowledge establishes the truth. That knowledge which has come from a higher plane, that will ascertain what is the truth. Not what I think or I feel, or what you think or you feel, or what, Tom, Dick, and Harry, what they think or feel. But what is coming from a higher plane, that will establish what is true. And in Loving Search for the Lost Servant, our Param Gurudev, he paraphrases this very nicely as, we are not interested in the opinion of anyone ordinary. I love this. We are not interested in the opinion of anyone ordinary. Like, okay, you think that, what are your credentials? What qualifications do you have? What understanding do you have, actually? Or is this just some whimsical, feeling, man? So, also, our Param Gurudev, he described how when he first came, before he joined the mission, and he was just visiting and mixing with the members and hearing from them, speaking from them. He said one thing that really impressed them is how much importance they gave on the teachings of the Veda, of the Vedic literature, and so this was at quite a hot time in India, a time of political, social, cultural, turbulence, and many celebrated, great cultural persons, like Mahatma Gandhi, like Rabindranath Tagore. You've heard of Rabindranath Tagore, okay? And persons like this, and persons who were being held in very high regard within India and even beyond India, right? But what it really impressed him, who else? Yeah, Rabindranath Tagore, Mahatma Gandhi. Trying to think of some other names. I can't remember. But what he noticed is that these persons who were held in such high esteem within the common society, if you mentioned some quote of theirs, they wouldn't pay attention. But if you mentioned something from Bhagavatam, from some substantial scripture, then they were all ears, But some, worldly person, even considered very great in ordinary person's estimation, they were not interested. They did not give any attention to that. But something, coming from, higher plane, a higher source of knowledge. Oh, you're speaking something from this. Oh, then we're very interested to hear from you. Then we know you have something to say. So Param Guru Maharaj, he's beginning his work like this, giving citations from scripture, which are establishing the importance of Sharanagati, surrender. So we'll read a little bit from here. So this is the first, and you'll see the style here throughout these chapters is the very first verse is Srila Sridhar Maharaj's own original verse, which is like a summary, like explaining what this chapter is about. So this is the first verse, Srila Sridhar Maharaj's own verse. Shruti smrityadi shastreshu prapatir yan nirupyate taduktam dvitiyadhyaye shishashtra vachanamrite. This second chapter, Shishashtra Vachanamritam, the nectar of scriptural word, describes surrender as corroborated in the revealed scriptures headed by the Vedas, Shruti, and the religious codes, Smriti. Prapati Shrutau. Surrender is firmly established by the Vedas. And so this, you'll see like at the beginning, is prefacing every cited verse. There is this initial line. That is Srila Sridhar Maharaj's own writing, like, introducing or distilling the essence, what is the essential point of the following citation. So this is citation, which is from some Tika on maybe Brahma Samhita. Tika means like some commentary, I believe. So from one of the acharyas. Yo brahmanam vidadati purvam yo brahma vidyam tasmai ga palayati sma Krishna tam hi devam atma ritti prakasham vamukshur vai sharanam amum vrajet. In the beginning of creation, he who created the in the beginning of creation, he who created the universal creator, Brahma, and then imparted to Brahma knowledge of Brahman, the Absolute. You're familiar with these words?
Yes.
Okay. He is the self-same Lord Krishna who tends the cows or nourishes the Vedas. Ga means both cows and Vedas. Those desirous of liberation should surrender, so here's the key word, sharanam, surrender unto that Lord who reveals the innate function of the soul. It's a very charming expression here, that, this like great, Supreme Lord, he created Lord Brahma, who's the creator of this world. He instructed Brahma knowledge of the Absolute, of spirit. He is that same Krishna who takes care of the cows. Very charming description of the Lord. And it is that aspect, that mood, which has captured our hearts, which somehow we have had the fortune to come to, this ideal. That Supreme Absolute, he has accepted this humble position as the keeper of cows. I don't know if you've heard of this pastime, Govardhan pastime.
I've heard the term.
Govardhan is a sacred hill or mountain, and you've heard that, yes. So he sheltered them from the wrath of Lord Indra, and it's a very wonderful pastime. It like illuminates this principle of beauty over power, right? Simplicity, beauty, love over power, majesty, grandeur, right? Because Lord Indra, he's like in this very proud mood, and he has some position, or he thinks he has some position, right? He's the king of heaven, he's so powerful, he commands so many natural forces, so many men, resources, and wealth. So he's thinking himself to be very grand and very great, and he's appearing like that. And Krishna, he's appearing as this simple, like, cowherd boy, and he's just, young and beautiful and charming and plays and has many friends and mother and father, and he takes care of cows, So apparently, Jai Shri Shri Guru Ranganatha Ki Dhani Ki Jai. So apparently, right, Krishna is like in a very like lower position, and Indra's in this very grand position. And this word, Indra, one meaning of actually Indra is like a post, you know, and you see in some places the particular names of particular Indras they are given. Indra is like a post. And one meaning is just like Lord, you know. So there's one very wonderful verse. If you go through, I don't know how many books you've been through, but in Loving Search for the Lost Servants.
I haven't read that yet.
Okay, well, must read. Very wonderful book. And there's one chapter there where Srila Sridhar Maharaj describes this pastime. And Lord of the Cows, it's called. And he discusses this. This is one verse. It's in Srimad Bhagavatam. It is at the end of... There's a few chapters describing this Govardhan Leela. And then at the end, there is this verse which like summarizes the whole Leela. And there's this wonderful play on words with this word Indra. And so it describes Krishna as Indro Gavam. You know, Gava means cow. So Krishna is described as the Indra of cows. He's the Lord of cows, you know. And then so he's like up against this great Indra of heaven, you know. And Krishna, he's just the Indra of cows, you know. But he's actually in the more powerful position, and you know, we are offering our obeisance to him. You know, it's spoken. The verse is spoken, I think, by Nanda Maharaj and the Braj Basis, like it's a prayer to Krishna, and so he's praised here as like Indra Gavam, as the Lord of cows, and there's this like contrast made. You know, like Srila Sridhar Maharaj paraphrases the mood of this verse, like, who is this Indra compared to Krishna? You know, Krishna, he appears to be very ordinary, very simple, but you know, he is the supreme absolute. He's appearing, he's chosen to appear in this very ordinary and simple and charming position. We prefer, you know, to take shelter of him. You know, who is this great Indra compared to you know, our Krishna, this keeper of cows, you know, like that. Param Guru Maharaj expressed it very, very beautifully there. So, you know, what a wonderful thing, you know, that the Supreme Lord, he is chosen to take this very humble position as the Lord of cows. As the master of cows. He could pose in any way that he likes. Everything is his, everything is at his disposal, but he chooses to show himself in this way, in this very simple and charming and heart-capturing way. Well, maybe I'll stop here. I don't want to go too late. Yesterday we went very late. And the next one we can is very nice, worthy of some discussion. The next few verses. I mean, all the verses, actually. So we'll stop there.
As always, thank you for all of your clarity.
Well, I'm very happy to be of some service. We're just sharing what little we've, you know, understood from our gurus and our divine guardians and the senior Vaishnavas. So we've received that, and it is our duty. We must share that. And when we find a receptive heart, then we're very happy. We're very excited, you know. Because otherwise it's just very sad. Like, we want to give something, but who is there to give it to, you know? So yeah, it would be great. All right. Jai Shri Gurudev. Run, you sing.
Hari Haraya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namah. Hari Haraya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namah. Yadavaya Madhavaya Krishnavaya Namah. Yadavaya Madhavaya Krishnavaya Namah.
Advaito Vinasamarana Mohana
Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita
Jadagara Sri Vishakha Devidasi
Saraswara Sri Vasari Gura Bhakta Vrinda
Jadagara Sri Vishakha Vrinda
Jaya Rupa Sanatam Vata Raghunatha
Jaya Rupa Sanatam Vata Raghunatha
Sri Deva Gopala Vata Rasa Raghunatha
Sri Deva Gopala Vata Rasa Raghunatha
Sri Jai Gosai Gori Charana Vandana
Jai Gosai Gori Charana Vandana
Jahavaite Vinana Sarista Purana
Jahavaite Vinana Sarista Purana
Jai Gosai Yamamaitandarasa
Eshwari Gosai Jai Munisarajasa
Nasavara Paranenu Mura Pancharasa
Jasavara Paranenu Murantadasa
Sandira Charana Seri Bhakta Samivasa
Jadavira Charana Sri Bhakta Samivasa
Janame Janame Murariya Vilasa
Janame Janame Muraya Vilasa
Jai Gosai Yavevai Koilavasa
Eshwari Gosai Jai Dasule Basha
Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakasa
Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakasha
Anande Guru Hari Vaya Vindavana
Anande Guru Hari Vaya Vrindavana
Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Maya Yamana
Shri Guru Vaishnava Padma Jaya Ramana
Shri Guru Vaishnava Pada Padma Koriyasa
Shri Guru Vaishnava Padma Koriyasa
Nama Sankirtana Kori Naratamurasa
Nam Sankirtan Kore Naratamurasa
Shri Guru Vaishnava Pada Padma Koriyasa
Shri Guru Vaishnava Padma Koriyasa
Nama Sankirtana Kori Naratamurasa
Nam Sankirtan Kore Naratamurasa
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Jai Saraswati Karachi Shri Guru Gauranga Rata Giridhari Ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Nirmala Chari Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Shri Advaita Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupanga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Natapati Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Sapasasana Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Sapasasana Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sri Mukunda Radha Kundagiri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vishvaishnava Vyasa Ki Jai. Tayesa Kamat Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswati Madhurangam Chapter Ki Jai. Vishakha Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanand.